Contention 1, the Second Amendment. Assault weapons ban 13th Second Amendment's rights. DCBS Heller proves Miller is not the controlling precedent. According to Moore 2009, the right to lawfully bear and keep arms is whether the previous assault weapons ban was effective in its stated goal, a reduction in violent crime. There was no measurable reduction in violent crime that could be attributed specifically to the ban. Many weapons outlawed by the ban mechanically function the same way as a legal semi-automatic hunting rifle or shotgun. The Supreme Court ruled in Heller that the Second Amendment protects an individual's right to keep and bear arms primarily for self-defense. The court sent a clear message that incremental steps to erode the Second Amendment are unacceptable. Heller recently redefined the Second Amendment individual right to possess and carry weapons and was affirmed 2 years later in McDonald versus City of Chicago, applying the individual right to bear arms in all 50 states. According to the Mehalco 2012, the U.S. Second Amendment policy was recently redefined by the Supreme Court. Heller, Justice Gallagher reasoned that the Second Amendment guarantees that the individual right to possess and carry weapons in case of confrontation. Only 2 years later, Heller was affirmed and the Second Amendment was incorporated against the states as an individual right in McDonald. McDonald incorporated the individual right to keep and bear arms established to Heller to all 50 states. The court ultimately determining the right to keep and bear arms is among those fundamental rights necessary to our system of ordered liberty. The court thus agreed with the petitioner's contention that the law essentially prevented citizens from defending themselves, leaving them more susceptible to injury and gun-related crime. And contention 2, self-defense. Guns can be used to stop acts of evil in the name of self-defense. According to Gross 2012, there are evils in this world. Our civil right to armed self-defense has a storied history of protecting us from those evils. This right protected the abolitionists. The right to bear arms was used to protect freedom from the KKK. And arms continue to protect civil rights workers even through the 1960s, as the twin specters of racism and the Klan itself have permeated local law enforcement. And the right to armed self-defense protects the LGBT community. The right to self-defense also protects mothers and daughters from rapists, merchants from robbers, and families from home invaders. And assault weapons defend against terrorists. According to Faber 2004, gun control proponents deny that the average citizen can or should take action to stop terrorism. There are several examples of armed citizens armed with assault weapons who protected themselves and their neighborhood. Israeli citizens are often the first to respond to terrorist attacks. In July of 1984, a massive shooting occurred in San Ysidro, California, McDonald's, where 21 people were murdered by one armed lone gunman. None of this man's victims were armed and able to defend themselves. The ticket encounter at LA International Airport illustrates the effective use of firearms against terrorist-style attacks. Self-defense against terrorists is an individual responsibility that cannot be delegated to the government. And contention 3, the ban is ineffective for 5 reasons. According to Legal Community Against Violence 2005, the federal ban was also a victim of numerous compromises, unfortunate regulatory decision, and exploitation by the gun industry. The definition of assault weapon requires each weapon to have 2 military features. ATF used a test requiring only one specified military feature. The law only bans assault weapons after the effective date of the act. Many firearms manufacturers redesign assault weapons to serve the ban, called authorization. The provisions of the law banning copies or duplicates. ATF has not enforced the provision, and the law contains a sunset provision.
Crossfire. Carol, first question. Oh, make sure you stand there.
If gun control is ineffective, why is gun trafficking so prevalent when bans it?
Or can you repeat that? Repeat the question.
Yeah. Wait, I don't know. Okay. If gun control is ineffective, why is gun trafficking so prevalent when bans lifted?
Carol. Move to the front.
Oh. If the gun control is ineffective, why is gun trafficking so prevalent when bans lifted?
Can you rephrase that?
Okay, if gun control is ineffective, why is gun trafficking so prevalent in Mexico?
What do you mean by prevalent?
Is gun trafficking is flourishing.
That's why it's ineffective. That's why it's ineffective, because there's trafficking of the guns, which means that the government is not doing its job to.
But that is when
Go ahead.
to make sure that the guns are not being smuggled into the country. That's why the ban is ineffective.
Okay, ask a question.
Do you think the ban, the gun control is going to, the gun control ban is going to prevent the people from able to defend themselves?
Does the assault weapon ban prevent self-defense?
The ban is not preventing people from defending themselves.
Because
Because if you enforce the ban, terrorists availability of assault weapons wouldn't be that prevalent, and terrorists wouldn't have that assault weapons to attack people. Therefore, people wouldn't need self-defense.
did you have a follow-up question from the first one? Ask another one.
Self-defense is important. However, self-defense cannot be achieved by army citizens with weapons, and social security should be enforced. Okay, no. Okay.
How would you respond to that? Say that.
How would you respond to that?
Wait, can you repeat your question?
Okay. The way to securing social security is not to arm citizens with weapons, but to enforce laws, not necessarily on the bans of the weapons, but enforce laws on gun trafficking and other aspects. So the ban wouldn't.
Don't you think that the easiest way to create security for the public is by enforcing existing laws and tightening gun laws?
No.
Why?
Wait, what do you mean by the last part?
Tightening gun laws, making it harder to get guns, like outlawing assault weapons. Don't you think that's the best way to promote the security of the public?
No, because even though you even though you outlaw guns, there's still smuggling of the guns from the country, so the ban will still be ineffective.
Okay.